أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء نبينا وشفيعنا وحبيبنا المصطفى محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهدايته إلى يوم الدين أما بعد Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. Fasting in the month of Ramadan, technically, what does it mean? Professor Wahabi Zulayhi, in his book, The Encyclopedia of Fiqh, says that fasting or sawm is the intended abstinence from things that break the fast, food, drink, and sex from dawn to sunset by legally qualified person. And he defines the legally qualified person. Number one, should be somebody who is sane, that is not mad, and somebody who is healthy, and somebody who is a believer, and then who is also a matured person and is not in the state of menstruation or nifas, that is bleeding after birth. This is actually just the technical definition of Ramadan. But when we come to the psychological definition of Ramadan, we are going to look at Quran chapter 2 verse 185 to extract the psychological definition of Ramadan. Allah Azza wa Jal in this particular verse says, Shahru Ramadan alladhi
unzila fihi al-Qur'an hudan lin-nasi wa bayyinatin min al-huda wal-furqan faman shahida minkum ash-shahra falyasum wa man kana maridan aw ala safarin fa'iddatun min ayyamin ukhra يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون. صدق الله العظيم.
Now in this particular verse, there are three basic things that Allah Azza wa Jal mentions in this particular verse to define Ramadan or the month of Ramadan. Number one, he says Shahru Ramadan. It means Ramadan is a month, it's a period, a 30 days period. Already before, in verse 184, he says Ayyaman ma'dudat. They are numbered days. The days that we are to fast, they are numbered days. And those numbered days is the month that we call the month of Ramadan. So it's a month. Number two, Allah Azza wa Jalla links it with a divine book that we call the Quran. And he says, Unzila fihi al-Quran. The Quran is revealed or was revealed in the month of what? Ramadan. Then he continues within the same verse to say that فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهَرَ فَلْيَصُمْ. Whoever witnesses this particular month, that is the month of Ramadan, then he should fast. Then it becomes obligatory for I and you, just like the way he mentioned in the verses before, verse 183, Kutiba alaykum as-siyam. It has been made compulsory unto you. So therefore, my brother who is listening to me, the month is 30 days. Within that particular 30 days, we are going to clench ourselves to the Quran. And what will the Quran do to us? Number one, with respect to we clenching ourselves to the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jal says, Hudan linnas. The Quran is what? A guide for the whole of what? Mankind. Mankind in entirety. Whether we like it or not, the Quran is a guide for us. We are being created based on principles, a fitrah that the Quran has enshrined. Allah Azza wa Jal has decreed in the Quran already. So the whole of mankind, the Quran is what? A guide to them. Then the next thing Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَبَيِّنَاتٍ مِّنَ الْهُدَى. وَبَيِّنَاتٍ. That وَبَيِّنَاتٍ مِّنَ الْهُدَى. Explanations of proofs, presentations of reasons, presentation of intellectual discourse concerning this particular guidance. This Quran is what an explanation. The third aspect of the function of the Quran, Allah mentions wal furqan. Wal furqan, distinction, our sense of distinction. According to Professor Abdurrahman Kasab Olu in his book, The Psychology of Salah and Fasting, he says that Allah Azza wa Jal enumerating these three functions of the Quran that is revealed in the month of Ramadan seeks to give us or tell us that we should let the Quran guide us to refine our emotions, more especially the center that controls our conscience, the super ego. And this one, for us to just get a little explanation about this one in psychology, according to the Freudian psychoanalytical personality theory, what he says is that human being, number one, we have the id. We have the id. Then number two, we have the ego. Then number three, we have the super ego. The super ego. The id actually controls our desires and our instinct, that we are bound and programmed with it from beginning within our genes. For that matter, immediate gratification of desires is being controlled by what? The id. Then the second one is the ego. Everything that we want to do, the reasoning and the rational aspect, the intellectual aspect is being controlled by the ego. Then the super ego actually controls the moral aspect. That is, it is the moral compass or the conscience compass of our personality. Whatever we want to do, it is not only the logic behind it, but then the morality behind it. The fear of Allah behind it is being controlled by what? The super ego. At this particular juncture, we can see that Allah Azza wa Jal saying that Shahru Ramadan alladhi unzila fihi al-Quran. Then he says, Hudan linnas, it is a guide for the entirety of mankind. Mankind has a general, unique format that is within them, controlling their what? Instinct, controlling their desires within them, by impulse, by reflex, that we want to satisfy this particular aspect of it. Some scholars say that it can be referred to the guidance that Allah Azza wa Jal says. So this particular general guidance is embedded in our human gene, within ourselves, our instinct that is controlled by the id. So it means that this hudan is towards the id. For example, Dr. Shahzad Iqbal Sham, in his book concerning marriage, he says Allah Azza wa Jal has given the whole of mankind some two powerful, influential, two instincts at least, and we cannot control them. And for that matter, we can say that they are embedded in the id. Number one, he says that the instinct of hunger. If we are hungry, we have no any other alternative. We need to eat. We need to what? Drink. Then number two, the instinct of what? Lust. This particular two instinct that is controlled by the id, and we don't have any control about it, and it is embedded in our subconscious mind. It is at the level that we want to execute it that Allah Azza wa Jal wants you to use your ego and use your super ego to control it. These particular two things, the eating preserves your individual life, and then the sex preserves your progeny, the social life. Because if you refuse to eat, then it means that within 1 year you are going to die once you refuse to eat. And if you refuse, all of us refuse not to have sex at all, not to satisfy this particular instinct or this particular desire, then we give ourselves within 100 years, 150 years, all of us will be wiped from what earth. Or we have it in a different manner, not the way Allah Azza wa Jal guided us to do it. We want to have it with male, male wants to have with male, and female wants to have with lesbianism and homosexualism. They are just like, it's a theory or is a perception or a philosophy that is just like group of army that is behind your country, ready to come and attack you and kill the whole of your progeny. They may not be killing you, but they are killing your children and killing what? Grandchildren. Because if you agree to become homosexual, you agree to become lesbian, it means you have decided not to give birth. You have killed your child and you have killed your children, and for that matter, we are moving towards extinction. We will never exist again within 100 or 150 years. So Allah made these things to be forceful instinct, forceful desires that is controlling us within what they eat. But the Quran says that Allah has brought some guidance within the Quran to help us manage these particular things that are embedded. Hunger to be satisfied by food, and then lust to be satisfied by what? Sex. These things that are embedded in the Eid, Allah Azza wa Jal has given us guidance in the Quran to guide them or to protect them, because these are the two most influential instincts that we can't control. Once you get into the mood, it is difficult to come out of it. That is hunger, and then also lust or sex. Allah Azza wa Jal is using fasting to develop our willpower, to develop our resistance towards temptations that will come closer to it. But with even these things, Allah says, La taqrabu zina. Do not come closer to it, not to talk of struggling with yourself. Because when you come to the mood, it is now in what? The hands or control of the Eid, and then your mind becomes what? Weak. Your super ego becomes what? Weak. So, Hudan linnas, the Quran is a guide for mankind, because if you follow the principles of the Quran and even you fast, you will be able to control your hunger, you will be able to control your lust. These are two powerful, influential, uncontrollable instinct within the Eid, that fasting will help you to control that one, or fasting will develop your sense of control and willpower against them. Wabayinat explanations, proofs, and then also reasons and logic concerning the guidance. Allah doesn't just give you the guidance like that. He gives you the guidance and he gives you the explanation. Whatever you are into, the Quran definitely is going to guide, and it's not only guide, it will give you the explanation. Now, the aspect, according to Freudian psychoanalytical theory of personality, the aspect of ourself or our personality that actually needs logic and reasoning and controls our intellectualism center is the ego. And for that matter, we say wabayinat is referring to a guidance that is supposed to guide what? Our ego. So you see that when you fast, you are able to control your mind now. You are able to reflect and control the dimensions and the limit of your reflection, because fasting, in which the Quran is being revealed, actually seeks through the Quran to guide our thinking, to guide our reflection, to guide our contemplation, and to guide our deep pondering. Then the third one is Furqan. Al-Furqan is actually the science of distinction. You might know something, but then you are unable to apply it or apply it correctly. So in order to guide you to apply it appropriately through wisdom at the right time for the right effect, you need what? Furqan. You need the sense of distinction to be able to know that one. So we realize that our compass of conscience, our compass of morality is actually being controlled by the super ego, which will need this particular guidance of Furqan from what? The Quran. So it means that the super ego. So the Quran, the psychological explanation of Ramadan or fasting in the month of Ramadan is that for us to be able, through the month of Ramadan and through clenching all our activities to the Quran, we are supposed to get ourselves guided to be able to control our hunger and to be able to control our lust, and for that matter, give comprehensive training to the Eid aspect of our personality. Number two, we are supposed to carefully read the Quran and extract life principles from the Quran, enumerate them, try to apply them in the month of Ramadan, and then plan to continue the application in your life even after the month of Ramadan. That is number 2. Number 3, we are supposed to let this particular knowledge guide us, and constantly we remember them and being able to apply them as and when the application of that particular knowledge is needed. And for that matter, we are able to clearly distinct between the right and what? The wrong. And for that matter, that is the development of what? The super. So psychologically, this is what we can say concerning fasting in the month of Ramadan, or fasting outside the month of Ramadan. That is the psychological perspective of the concept of what? Ramadan. This